canalización ha tenido una larga lucha, un largo debate interior hasta alcanzar la canalización. Y ha experimentado con sonidos, con minerales, con lugares, con el magnetismo de esos lugares, para alcanzar lo que ella considera un contacto. Hoy nos va a hablar hablar y experimentar con la geometría sagrada, y específicamente con el pentágono. Hablamos de E.L Light. Un fuerte aplauso.
Hello everybody, welcome. For some reason, the text has changed. There's all sorts of things happening here. So that's meant to say the Pentagon, okay? So today we're going to be exploring the Pentagon geometry. I want to firstly thank you all for being here. Thank you for being at the Congress, for assisting the disclosure. I want to say thank you to the production team for making this possible, to Robin and the team who are the backbone of this event, and also thank you to all the speakers and the volunteers, where together we are assisting the disclosure process. And so today, we're going to be exploring what I believe is your birthright to know, the Pentagon geometry, and the significance that it holds with the new Earth. So today we will be exploring the Pentagon, and just to clarify, this geometry here, there's a pentagon. So my text is all jumbled up, but this is in honor of the 5th edition of the Ufology World Congress, edition number 5, and obviously the Pentagon, it has 5 corners. So we thought it was a good idea to share this wisdom with you today. Where not only is this the 5th edition, there is a lot of synchronicity happening behind this event, of divine orchestration, things aligning in a certain way, which is quite interesting. The numerology of this year, 2021, is 5. So we have the 5th edition on the 5th year of a cycle. The numbers provide a big key for our greater self-empowerment as humanity, and also for understanding the nature of reality. I mean, all you have to do is look at the mathematics and the physics. So we're going to be exploring 5 key points. I don't know what has happened to my text. Okay. Number 1, the importance of the geometric shape of the Pentagon. Number 2, the energetic impact and influence that this geometry has on humanity, how it connects to the Akashic Records, and how it connects to the new Earth human being, and also the part that you can't see that we're going to be bringing to light. Interesting how it's kind of fallen off the page. How it also connects to the Pentagon, the Pentagon building, and why it is that shape. We're going to be asking questions that should have been asked a while ago. So that's the Pentagon building, for those of you who do not know. And the Pentagon is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. And it's been in headline news this year, particularly in the field of disclosure and ufology. We're going to be speaking a bit about this. But first, we want to go into the geometry of the Pentagon, so you can begin to connect the dots within yourself as to why this building may be shaped in the way that it is. So Thoth wants to say hello. Thoth is a guardian, one of my guides and teachers. And both is also asking me to bring awareness to many of the other guardians that are here in the room, the multidimensional beings, and the Ascended Masters. We want to thank you for being here and for assisting this activation today. We want to thank the higher angelic realms, the divine archangels of light, for protecting the space as we share this information, and for facilitating this information and being delivered. And once again, we thank the guardians of light for anchoring in the new universal consciousness, where, as you are going to learn through this presentation, the Pentagon, directly connected to the Akashic Records, is fundamental within the New Earth consciousness. So before we go into this, I'm going to invite you to join me in 3 ohms, just to raise the vibration of the space and to unify our hearts as one family of light. So Om is a mantra, works with the power of sound technology. I'm going to show you some geometry in relation to sound as well today. But if you want to close your eyes and just tune into your heart, taking a deep breath in, we do 3 ohms together as one. Beautiful. Okay, you can open your eyes. And so, the Pentagon, this geometry here, it is stick. Okay. When you join all of the corners together, you get what is known as a pentagram. And this is important geometry. It is the symbol of magic. The Pentagon works directly with magic. We're going to be giving you a little initiation into magic today through the geometry. Now this is the symbol of white magic. This, you turn it around, is a symbol of black magic. So we guide you to keep it facing upwards. But I show you both because it is important to be aware of both poles. If you want to be a master in this reality, you have to acknowledge both the darkness as well as the light. It's important to be able to remain grounded. We are in the 3rd and 4th dimension at this time, moving into the 5th dimension. But to be able to make that ascension, we must also be aware of what is going on the planet at this time. Be aware of the polarities. And in the process, you can then, in time, ascend beyond them. Paradox, because it is beyond time as well. And so this is another geometry to be aware of. It's a neutral geometry. You see it's got both the positive and the negative combined. And this neutralizes the energy. It's a useful one to know. So geometry works through connecting and anchoring in nodal points, generating an energy reflective of the geometry and vibrational template. Because geometry and vibration are one, which has been demonstrated by scientific resonance experiments, such as the Chladni plate and the cymoscope. Who has heard of the Chladni plate or the cymoscope? Maybe you could raise your hand. Okay, these are very important scientific resonance experiments. I'm going to show you one. This is the Chladni plate. I'm going to show you it in action, but first I want to just bring your awareness here. Ernst Chladni was a physicist, and he developed the Chladni plate, which captured the nature of vibration, visualized the nature of vibration. But what Chladni did is he got a metal plate and he placed sand upon the plate, where he vibrated the plate with a violin bow. And the sound bounced around, capturing the vibration when the plate came to a standstill. And as you can see through these pictures, what it demonstrated is vibration is geometric at nature. And so, just to bring your awareness to what this means, is when we speak, we are speaking in essence vibration. When we are speaking also in geometry. When we're thinking, this has a geometric form as well, our thought waves, geometry. Geometry is a universal law and a universal language, and it is a very important one to get to know. So this is a video of the Chladni plate in action. So you can do it with salt, or you can do it with sand. This is a more modern day experiment. The original one was done with a violin bow, vibrating the plate. But this is done through electric. And so when you're watching this, just remember what I said earlier about your words and your thoughts. Thought vibration, sound vibration, also motion vibration, all types of vibration. They have a geometric form as well. And when you begin to open your third eye, as you ascend into these higher dimensional expressions, the space between us, this invisible space, isn't so invisible anymore. And it is filled with similar patterns to this, constantly changing depending on where your vibration is at, depending on the frequency you're putting out into the world. All is geometric, essentially. And so, modern day technology has also demonstrated what the Chladni plate did. You have the simoscope, which uses technology to once again capture the geometric nature of vibration. And so, the key point to take away from here is the unity between geometry and vibration, where every time you see a geometry, remember it is also vibrational at nature. Also, every time you see vibration or hear vibration or feel vibration or speak vibration or think, it is also geometric at nature. So in relation to the pentagon and the pentagram, you can begin to see how the energy is generated through these geometric forms. Particularly with the positive and the negative, and how that can happen, quite literally. So the pentagon is the template of great magic. Key point number 1. Use it very, very wisely. And I highly recommend, if you do share that geometry, to have it pointing upwards, serving white magic, generating positive energy on the planet, and for yourself as well, and for others. Because otherwise you will generate negative karma for yourself, and you just want to avoid that. Positive white magic. Here's some other really cool information about the pentagram and the pentagon. So an equilateral pentagon has sides and lengths equal to pi, equal to the golden ratio. And when you apply the golden ratio to geometry, you get the Fibonacci spiral. And so the Fibonacci geometry is woven throughout the pentagon. It's woven throughout the pentagram. And why is this significant? Well, this geometry is woven throughout creation. It's woven throughout our human body as well. I'm not going to go too deep into this today, but you can find it in the measurement of your arms, in the measurement of your body, in the measurement of your hands and of your fingers. The golden ratio. The science many of us were not taught in school. And so, Key point number 2, the pentagon is directly connected to Fibonacci. It is directly connected to a key pattern. And here are some pictures of Fibonacci within nature. And this is just in some areas of nature. You can find it everywhere, really. Either the geometry or the mathematics of the golden ratio. So this is a storm, the wave, the energetics of the ocean and of the elements of the storm, of air and of water. Also the Milky Way, Fibonacci spiral. So you can begin to see how this geometry is significant to humanity, significant to the planet beyond humanity, significant to the universe, important. And this is the coolest part. This is what I love. The pentagon is directly connected to the element of the ether. And so the geometry, like I said before, is a universal language. I highly recommend you take the time to study it, to get to know it, because it is a map, quite literally, through the dimensions. This here is a dodecahedron. It's one of the 5 Platonic solids. And you can see the dodecahedron is formed through 12 pentagon faces. Once again, the pentagram is within the pentagon. So here is some qualities of the dodecahedron. Has 30 edges, 12 vertices, 20 vertices, 12 faces. The mathematics, directly connected with the geometry. You can go deeper into the geometry, into the nature of these patterns, through studying the numbers as well. They work hand in hand. So this is the geometric template of the element of the ether. This is the 5th element. It is the element that has been hidden from much of humanity for thousands of years, unless you were initiated into the mystery schools of ancient Egypt or ancient Greece. This is the sort of information that they would have taught you. And so it's one of the 5 Platonic solids. And these are 5 of the forms that I really recommend you take the time to get to know their names, get to know their qualities, get to know the elements that they represent, because they will serve you in ascension through the dimensions. They will serve you as a map in the astral realms as well. So first we have the cube, the element of earth. And then we have the isosahedron, the element of water. Then we have the tetrahedron, the element of fire. Then we have the octahedron, the element of air. Those first 4 elements are the ones that most people will know about. And then the 5th element, the dodecahedron, the element of the ether. And this is central to the next phase of our human evolution, is awakening to the element of the ether and beginning to work with it. And everybody can do this. The wisdom is within us all. It's the beauty of it. And so the Platonic solids, if you're not familiar with the pattern of creation, who studied the sacred geometry? Do you think you could raise your hands, please? Wonderful. I recommend the work of Drunvalo Melchizedek. He's a great master. He did a lot of work into this basic part of the sacred geometry, also very complex. But I recommend studying his work as well. So first you have the source, or God, the creator of all that is, the beginning, the circle. It's a significant geometric pattern. Then this pattern continues. Something I just want to point out is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases. And then you get 7, the seed of life. The first complete flower or seed. Now there are 7 days of the week. Many of the sacred scriptures speak about how the earth was created in 7 days. And you can connect this to the geometry. We're not going to go too much into that today, just to give you an introduction there. But you expand beyond the seed of life and you get the flower of life. And from the flower of life, you move beyond the flower of life, you get what is known as the fruit of life. And beyond the fruit of life, you get what is known as Metatron's cube, the divine union of the feminine and the masculine. The feminine being the circles, and the masculine being the lines, where together in their unity they create the template of creation, where from Metatron's cube you get the 5 Platonic solids. And something to be aware of here as well is how it all connects. In the 3rd dimension, we seemingly are individual or separate. But beyond these physical bodies, we are all unified. You may have heard scientists such as Greg Barden or Joe Dispenza, Lynn McTaggart speaking about this all-unifying field of consciousness. The geometry is there. And so beyond your physical bodies, we have this unifying field of consciousness that connects us, where even our physical bodies are directly connected to this all-unifying field. So the 5 Platonic solids, I recommend you get to know them. So the element of the ether is the 5th element. It is a plasma-like material. It's kind of like water, but plasma-like, fluid, galactic also. Very, very beautiful. And the element of the ether is the template to the Akashic Records. And this is where it gets really interesting. Who knows what the Akashic Records is? Do you think you could raise your hands, please? Wonderful. And are there any Akashic readers in the room? Do you think you could raise your hands, please? Fantastic. Okay, so pay close attention. You might receive some more information here. So this is not new, rather ancient wisdom. In Sanskrit, Akash means the sky or the ether. Can't see it, it's gone down there behind the, but it says Ayutha there. Sanskrit, it means Ayutha. You travel in India and Nepal, study some Sanskrit, and they have this awareness already within their culture. You say Akash or Akasha, they're like, oh, the sky or the ether. And they might not even know what the Akashic Records is. But obviously we are not taught this in the West. Well, not all of us. If you grew up in mainstream England, you wouldn't have been taught this, most likely. So the element of the ether is the template of the Akashic Records. This is the geometry to ground in this wisdom into the awareness of humanity, where the geometry quite literally connects nodal points within your brain, forming your neuron pathways, where many of this abstract spiritual philosophy that is out here, when you understand the geometry, you ground it in, you embody it. It becomes tangible. So the Akashic Records is the records of all that is. Every lifetime is there. Past, present, future, parallel lifetimes are all in the Akash. Every thought, every emotion, every potential timeline is within the Akash. And so what this means is, in every given moment, you are always presented with choices. Yes or no, to make it simple. Say you choose yes, and you walk down the timeline of yes. What happens to the timeline of no? Does it still exist? This is moving into the multiverse theory. Where the Akashic Records, it records all this information. But the New Earth human being, upon accessing this wisdom, has the capacity to quite literally heal multidimensionally, to shift timelines if necessary. It's possible within ourselves, but it requires discipline, it requires inner work, and also the sacred geometry helps a lot to be able to understand it analytically. So when you learn to access the Akashic Records in the new universal consciousness, you quite literally open the doors of infinite potential. And what we mean by the new universal consciousness is we are in a new age. The astrological cycles are such where the energies within this universe are now different, within the galaxy are now different. There are two key cycles I want to bring your awareness to. You have the Great Year Cycle, which is roughly 25,800 years, the time it takes for the Earth to travel through the ages of the equinox. And then you have the Galactic Year Cycle. Now this is a 250 million year cycle. So the humanity in comparison to this cycle is really very young. We have never really completed, as a human being, 250 million years. And so we, on the Earth, as humanity, are moving into a new area of the universe entirely that we have never been before. We've completed Great Year Cycles, but we haven't completed Galactic Year Cycles. Now we're going to be speaking about that tomorrow. If you're interested, come to our workshop, a Galactic Year Upgrade. But that's just to serve a further activation because it is directly connected with the Akashic wisdom and the element of the ether. So the beauty of this is geometry is a map through the dimensions, but also through our human body in understanding who we are on a deeper level. You have the pentagon and the pentagram within the template of the DNA. And if you expand beyond the two-dimensional image of the pentagon, you get the dodecahedron. So we quite literally have the template of the Akashic Records within our DNA, gateways to the infinite expanse of the Akash, where every potentiality is. And so the Akashic Reset are the keys that have been given by Cryon. Does anybody follow Cryon here? Wonderful. So I became activated 7 to 5 years ago with this wisdom of the Akash through the channel of Lee Carroll. And then Cryon began to visit me and asked me to develop what we call today the Akashic Reset, working with the wisdom of the Akash to take control of your state of embodiment and reality. Cryon, for those of you who do not know, is a guardian. He is a giant of light. Wants me to paint him as well, but we'll get there at some point. So, Cryon has given these commands to assist you in taking control of your Akash and to reprogram it to activate different states of awareness from within you, different states of embodiment. Where, as you have seen today, the geometry quite literally enables you to physically transform. So I'm going to read these out. And if you want to receive this activation, it's for the activation of crystalline consciousness from within your DNA. If you would like to receive this activation, you can repeat it internally. I guide you to close your eyes for this. I'm going to guide you in tuning into your DNA and then into the Akash. And so you can begin to see the power that is within you and the power that is awakened as you begin to work with the Akashic Records. So I invite you to close your eyes. And start by tuning into your heart. feeling your heart center within your chest as a glowing ball of light, expanding with every breath that you take. Visualize the light of your heart expanding out throughout your whole entire being, connecting with all the cells in your being, your trillions of cells, feeling your heart's connection with your cells that are conscious and that are listening to you. Say hello, dear cells, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for your health. Thank you for your well-being. I love you. And then within your cells is the nucleus of each cell, where within the nucleus of each cell, you have your DNA. So sending the light of your heart through your cells into the nucleus of each cell, connecting with your DNA, feeling the love, feeling the appreciation for your DNA. Where your DNA determines your genetic material, what you take on, what you embody, your eyes, your hair, many of your behaviors. Feeling the love and appreciation for your DNA. By waving through your DNA, you have Akashic Membranes. Now these are gateways to the infinite expanse of the Akash, the Akashic Records. So allowing the light of your heart to expand and connect with the Akash that is waving through your DNA. Feeling the love, feeling the appreciation for the Akasha. Some call the Akasha the mind of God. So much wisdom is there. The wisdom of all of your lifetimes. The master, the intelligent one, is all there within the Akash. And so the Akashic commands give you the capacity to rewrite the information that you take on through the Akash into your current embodiment, where the Akash determines much of what you take on into your embodiment, such as your genetics, such as your karma or your dharma, such as your skill sets, your behavior patterns, your consciousness as well. So we apply the Akashic commands to activate divine crystalline consciousness in this example, but it can assist you in many areas of your life. So I guide you to repeat the commands internally to receive this activation. And they go like this. Dear Akash, benevolent that you are, see this new energy. I am in command. I command the activation into my embodiment now of divine crystalline consciousness. Do this now. I have spoken. And you can affirm, it is done, it is done, it is done. And that's just an example of what you can do. There is all sorts you can awaken, such as your psychic abilities, such as different skill sets. Your potential is unbound when you begin to work with the Akashic Records in this way. So saying thank you to the great Akasha, tuning back into your DNA. Maybe you can feel a transformation that has taken place. And then tuning in to your cells, feeling the love and appreciation for your cells. And tuning in to your whole entire being, feeling the love and appreciation for your being. And then tuning into your heart. Once again, the gateway to New Earth is through your heart. The gateway to your New Earth light body is through your heart. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. You can take your time. So you can begin to see the significance this geometry can have you can begin to see how it all connects. Where you have the template of the Akash within your DNA, but then you also have the template of the macabre light body within your DNA as well. And this is our new Earth human being, multi-dimensional human light body. Beyond the physicality, we have an aura. We are so much more than just three-dimensional beings. We're multi-dimensional beings, where this awareness is encoded through our beings. So you can see, this is another key. The Star of David within the DNA. So the Pentagon is directly connected to the element of the ether and the Akashic Records. And you have the Akashic Records and the Pentagon Geometry within your DNA. The Pentagon, as with all geometry, is multidimensional. And so we're going to give you a further multidimensional activation here. Geometry is a multidimensional language. And here we have the first 4 dimensions of the cube. The dot, 0D, can also be seen in 1D as well. The line, 1D. The square in 2D. The cube in 3D. And if you move into 4D, you get the 4th dimensional cube. Now we've got 2 diagrams for this, because the 4th dimensional cube is unconfined by physical form. It has the capacity to move in and outside of itself. So I'm going to show you an animation for this to assist you in understanding this. So 4th dimensional geometry in motion. You can see the cube, within the cube, moving in and outside of itself. Remembering the cube was one of the Platonic solids, the element of earth. All of the Platonic solids, they also have these multidimensional expressions. They also have the capacity to move in and outside of themselves. Everywhere you see geometry, it has these multidimensional expressions. This is why, quite literally, it is a multidimensional language. So how does the Pentagon building connect to all of this? And why is it that shape? So I don't know why my text has gone all funny. It was fine earlier. Anyway. So I'm sure you can come up with your own conclusions to that. But I want to remind you, this can be used for good. It's important that we really begin as a collective consciousness to co-create a collective positive timeline, where I do believe there are people inside this building that want the best for humanity. Now there may be those who are the polarity to that. But let's focus on the good guys. Let's cheer for them, because I believe they are there. There is a larger plan at work, and I believe God has got all corners covered. I believe God has seeded people in all areas to assist the humanity through these times. And so what's so important through disclosure is for us to not lose faith in other people, particularly people in the establishment. Well, I do believe there are people there that want good. And in us believing in that, we begin to hold space for that. But if we attack them, then that doesn't get anything done. It creates separation and slows things down. So there is good in every single human being on the planet, I do believe. And we've always got the capacity to shift into light. Jesus being a big role model for that and all that he taught. So the building of the Pentagon was originally designed to fit onto a land with borders of 5 sides. This is the explanation that they give for the shape. In the end, it was built somewhere else entirely, at a site where a pentagonal shape was no longer required. But by the time of this location change, it was too late to come up with a new design. So it remained as a pentagon. So this is what is said to be the reason why it's that shape. Given everything I've shown you today in relation to the geometry of that shape, the significance that it has to the planet, the Akashic Records, and also the human DNA, brings a lot into question. So this is the Pentagon, some artwork I made. If you made it multidimensional, remembering the 4th dimensional cube, it's not just in the 3rd dimension, it's multidimensional. So if you mirror the Pentagon, you get the dodecahedron, access to the Akashic Records. And so it brings much into question as to what is going on there. There are many within the ufology community that have researched into what goes on in the CIA and how psychic abilities, remote viewing as well, astral travel, is something that is prioritized in these establishments. So, do they know this information? Chances are they probably have some information in relation to this. It's the reason why we're not taught this geometry in school. And so this geometry can be used for magic. It can be used for generating a certain frequency throughout the planet. And so I want to encourage you, through the power of your consciousness, because it is so powerful, to focus on this in light. And if it is not being used for light, if it is being used for dark agendas, we have the capacity, through our collective unified consciousness, to flip that. That is the power of the human being, where it is the power that has been used against us. The television, a box of programming, quite literally, teaching us how to think, teaching us to be disempowered, where our consciousness, just like the geometry, is always leaving our body. We're always creating, all the time, these geometries, where our collective creation creates our collective reality. Coronavirus, I believe, is a reflection of the sickness inside the human being. It's a manifestation in the external world of what's going on internally. And the way we fix that is by tending to the internal world. And it's really not that hard. It's actually naturally who we are. Children, they come to the earth and they're beautiful, right? Always playing, always aligned. Everything just flows. And then something happens and they go into the education system, they become bored, they become disempowered. But naturally, they are connected. Naturally, we all are. So it's just a matter of becoming who we are again. It's a matter of expanding into who we are again. And it is an internal journey. And so this is the science of sacred geometry.
Ellen, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. And it is a science. It is a science. And if you don't believe me, if you want to question that, ask the galactics. This is how they communicate to us. And you've got to wonder why that is. That's a pentagram. Sacred geometry is a universal language. So the geometry, I think it should be taught in school. Get to know it. The Pentagon is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, which is obviously had a huge influence, or impact this year, where disclosure has taken place to some degree. Files were released. Of UFO footage, supposedly taken in 2004 to 2019. Where the question becomes, why wasn't this shown to us? It should have been. And this is really what we're doing today, is we're calling for full disclosure. We're asking for transparency. We're asking for the Pentagon to come clean, to work together in transparency with the humanity, because our collective potential is truly amazing when we do. So, it's happening, and they're mocking what's happening. Why? What don't they want us to know, and why not? So the Pentagon, the report that was released this year, it reviews 144 UAPs reports involving observations made by the military between 2004 and 2021. So I just want to bring your awareness to this number. It's another big key if you learn the geometry and also the numerology. 144. 144,000 is the number stated in the book of Revelations to be the number of light workers to come to the earth in these times and save the humanity. Now, you may be against religion, but I think we should look to the prophecies as wisdom inside. Take them with a pinch of salt and read between the lines. But there's wisdom there. 144 is also the dimensional perspective, the number of dimensional perspectives within the universe. There are 12 key dimensions and 12 dimensional perspectives or overtones within those 12 dimensions. 144 is a significant number. And so 144 is also the number of 12 councils. And it makes beautiful geometry like this. 12 councils of 12. And this is the solution that we propose to the humanity through these times, is obviously the governments are hiding things. If you're at a ufology congress, it's obvious things are not being shared with us. So what do? Do we wait for them? No. We get organized. If there's one thing the darkness has on the light, is it's organized. Well, to some degree. So if light workers get organized, and there's a lot more light workers on the earth than there is darkness, if we get organized in councils of 12 and work together, we have the capacity to really turn this thing around for the light and for the highest possible timeline for humanity. One sec. Almost done.
Ellen, if do you like questions, no more time, but ¿queréis que siga y nos comemos el tiempo de preguntas? ¿Sí? 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. So here's some more geometry. So this would be for a council of, 13 councils working together, or it could be 12 councils rotating, because they work together, they rotate like clockwork, and then they form a central council. It's a good way to organize the new earth. You have, 13 circles here, but you can work out the geometry. You can work out the template of creation. If reality is formed through Fibonacci and through geometry, if harmony is in that way, surely the wisest thing to do as humanity would be to organize ourselves in a way that is in harmony with nature through the geometry. So the power isn't out there. It is within you. If there's anything I can leave you with today, it is the awareness of that. Where if you want to form councils of light, I recommend you do. explore it. Because in you even going there and just exploring it, you're activating the planetary consciousness through the all-unifying field. So a council of 12. We're together in our unified self, empowerment, and collective consciousness, order and coherence, greatness, balance, and equilibrium on earth can be once more. Believe in the humanity. Believe in yourself. And if you find that hard, believe in God. Believe in the larger planet work, because it is here, it is working through us all. Where from chaos, order is found. So that's all we have time for today. I want to thank you, my brothers and sisters. I hope you all enjoy. I will answer some questions now.
Un fuerte aplauso para E.L Light.